English winners, this is your introduction to something called gap fillers. Have you ever set a goal for English conversation? Like, I'm going to have a 5-minute conversation in English. It seems like a complicated goal at first, but this is a lesson that will help you. You see, gap fillers are words that you say when you're looking for the words you need to complete your sentence. I'll give you an example. Well, I need time to think. That word, well, right at the beginning, that's a gap filler. If you're speaking for 5 minutes and 30 seconds worth of that speaking time is gap fillers, 1 second of gap filler per sentence, then you've already gotten 30 seconds out of 300 towards your goal. So you're 10% to your goal. Just learn gap fillers. Now, gap fillers are great for a lot of reasons. They let the other person know that you're still thinking of what you're going to say, you're still finishing a thought. This lets the other person stop and listen. That way, they can give you time to finish what you have to say. It's also natural sounding. You see, English speakers, even fluent people like me, sometimes need a moment to think of what they're going to say. And so, if you speak with 0 gap fillers, then your speech will sound so rehearsed and so perfect that it will sound like you practiced it beforehand, right? See, right? That's another gap filler. And so, you want to have some gap fillers in your sentences, even if you know what you're going to say. In fact, when I do EnglishWin videos, like the one you're watching right now, I will sometimes put gap fillers at the end of my sentence or at the beginning of my sentences to give you time. Because sometimes you have to think a little bit to move words into your language so that you can understand. Now, when you're fluent, you can think in English, right? You can think in English. But not everybody is at that level, okay? So, what I do is I use some gap fillers to make things easier, to give you more time to understand everything. And so, there are many gap fillers. I don't have time in a short video to teach you all of them, but I can teach you 7 that you can use in many different places in many different sentences. So I'm going to introduce one at a time the different gap fillers for this lesson, and then we'll go down into how they are used and some sentence examples that you can practice, okay? Before we get into the lesson, please please subscribe, click the bell icon, and remember to share this video with your English learning friends so that this channel can grow to the top of the YouTube English education arena, okay? Let's get started with those gap fillers. The gap fillers are, you know, like, kind of, sounds like or say, maybe, and definitely. Our first gap filler is you know. When you use you know, you are hoping that whatever you say next, the other person will understand. Here's a sentence example. When there are 5 people in a room and all of them think they are the boss, it's tough. There's no you know in the sentence, but now I will add you know so you can see how it's used, okay? So we're going back to this sentence. You know, when there are 5 people in a room and all of them think they are the boss, it's tough. When there are, you know, 5 people in a room and all of them think they are the boss, it's tough. When there are 5 people in, you know, a room and all of them think they are the boss, it's tough. When there are 5 people in a room and all of them, think they are the boss, it's tough. When there are 5 people in a room and all of them think they are, the boss, it's tough. And last, when there are 5 people in a room and all of them think they are the boss, it's tough, See how many different places you can use in a sentence? It's great. Pretty much before any important piece of information, you can put and it'll give you more time to think and other people more time to understand. Our next one is like. And for the sake of all English speakers everywhere, please keep the use of like to a minimum. Try not to use it too much. I notice that even in my EnglishWin videos, I still use it more than I should, right? It's better to not use like too much, but you can use it a little bit, especially when you are comparing things. My generation, the worst offenders of using like too much, the millennials, they'll say like all the time, whether it makes sense or not. So try not to overuse like. Now, let's go into how like is used because you will hear it anyway. Our base sentence is, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And now we'll use like, as in, like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Or, he, doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't, know what he's talking about. Or, he doesn't know, what he's talking about. Now, the clause, what he's talking about, flows together nicely, so I'm not going to say, he doesn't know what he's talking about, because that's just awkward. So, what he's talking about, I'm not going to put like in between any of those words, okay? Our third gap filler is kind of. Kind of is for making suggestions. However, you are also saying that whatever you say next is only a simple version of an idea or something that happened in the past. Here's an example. They got into a fight over who would be the champion, and then things got crazy. Now we'll put kind of in the sentence. Watch. They kind of got into a fight over who would be the champion, and then things got crazy. They got into kind of a fight over who would be the champion, and then things got crazy. They got into a fight over who would be the champion, and then things got kind of crazy. They got into a fight over who would be the champion, and then things kind of got crazy. Cool, so you understand kind of, right? I hope you do, because we're going to go to our fourth gap filler, which is sounds like or Here's our base sentence. You should go see a doctor. Or, you should see a doctor. That's a very common use of it, right at the beginning of a sentence. Next, you should see a doctor. Or, most common, you should see a doctor. Or, you should see a doctor. We usually don't use at the end of a sentence unless you're saying something else that would make the first thing you say at the beginning of the next sentence. Like, that looks bad, you should see a doctor. But you wouldn't just say, you should see a doctor, That's just weird. Our fifth gap filler is say. Now, the way we use say, it sounds like you are offering a suggestion while waiting for the right words to come to your mind. Here's our example sentence. Because it's windy, you should stay inside. And here's how we put say in. Say, because it's windy, you should stay inside. Or, because it's windy, you should say, stay inside. Does that make sense? Our next gap filler is maybe. You use maybe when you're almost sure of what you're going to say, but you could be wrong. Here's our base sentence. I'm going to look for a new job. And here's how we use maybe. Maybe I'm going to look for a new job. Or I'm maybe going to look for a new job. Or I'm going to maybe look for a new job. I'm going to look maybe for a new job. I'm going to look for a new job. Maybe. Now, what I didn't do was I'm going to look for a maybe new job. Why? Because if I put maybe next to new job, I'm saying that the job might not be new, right? It changes the definition of the sentence. It changes the meaning. So I didn't put maybe next to new job, but everywhere else where it looks like I'm just using it to get more time to think of what to say, that's okay. So you do have to use your head a little when using gap fillers. But with practice, it becomes more natural, and it actually helps you speak English more fluently, faster. Let's go into our last gap filler, which is definitely. You use definitely when you're absolutely sure of what you're going to say. Some people say definitely when they don't know what they're going to say at all yet. Those people are annoying. Don't be one of those people. Here's an example. You should avoid whiskey. And here's how we put definitely in. Definitely, you should avoid whiskey. Or you definitely should avoid whiskey. You should definitely avoid whiskey. Or you should avoid whiskey, definitely. And so you don't have to use just one gap filler in a sentence. You can actually use a lot. Check this out. You know, now some people are a little bit crazy. So you just need to absolutely make sure that they maybe stay away from drugs, right? Look at how many gap fillers are in that sentence. It's a lot, right? But the sentence still makes sense. People still understand it. But try not to use too many gap fillers all the time, because if you do, people will think you really don't know what you're talking about. So only use them when you're looking for something to say. Try not to use too many, okay? Now, have you ever made a sentence with a lot of gap fillers? Try it. Type it down in the comments below. I want to see what you've learned and how you use it, okay? Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel because it will help me a lot and it will grow this channel. I have a playlist over here on English fluency and one more I think you might like. So I will see you over on those lessons. Take care, English winners.